Moondog here with a review of the Missouri Tactical Recoil Buffer. That's this little golden little donut here. Thanks to Missouri Tactical for sending this out to me for a test and review. But this is one of the newest products to come from Missouri Tactical, made for the Sub2000, and they've come out with a bunch of cool new products recently, some of which I've reviewed, like the Sub2000 recoil pad, which I really like, and I'm really interested in trying this out and seeing how well this works. Now, this is a recoil buffer, and if you recall, or if you've seen the video that I put out a few months ago that showed you some recoil hacks, some hacks for the Sub2000, and one of them was putting this this little silicone gasket into your buffer tube to reduce your felt recoil. Well, this functions in the same way in a much neater package, because this fits around your recoil spring and there's no little futzing around to get it positioned correctly like you did with this gasket. Now, mind you, this gasket works, but it is a little fussy to get on. This one is so much easier, and this is similar to the product that MCARBO has been famous for producing, their own recoil buffer for a few years. Now, the criticism that some of the owners of the MCARBO version have had, or have shared with me, I don't own one, so they shared this with me, is that the MCARBO recoil buffer is a bit stiff. It's like a hard polymer, almost as hard as the buffer itself. So obviously, if it's as hard as the buffer, it's not really reducing much of the impact as much as something that would be softer. Now, this one is flexible, and let's see if you could see here, if this would focus, you should be able to see, there you go. It does flex a little bit. It doesn't compress much, so that's good. But it is it's much more flexible than the MCARBO version, and that's one of the things I'm interested in trying out. Because so if it's got a little bit more elasticity, obviously it's going to absorb more of the impact from the bolt as it slams back, as you can see here in the stock. And the tube of the Sub2000. Inside you have 1.5 pounds, 1.6 pounds of steel, which is the buffer, reciprocating inside your tube and hitting the back of, hitting your buffer, which is connected to your stock. And so all that impact is transferred into your shoulder. That's why it's got a bit of a reputation for a bit more kick than you'd expect from a 9mm carbine. And this fits in between or around your spring and acts as a sort of a impact absorber for that bolt in between the bolt and your buffer. Here, I'll show you how easy it is to install. All right, well, before you do anything with your firearm, make sure that it is safe, no magazine, on safe, and more importantly, check the chamber. No bullets in the chamber, so you know it's safe. All right, so first thing you need to do is release the tension on your pin by pushing down on your buffer, and that should allow you to push out the stock pin. There you go, stock pin. And that allows you to pull out your stock and your buffer together. In fact, here, let me just show you. Those of you who own it obviously know. This is the buffer itself. It's just a hard plastic piece. It feels like the same polymer that makes up the body of the Sub2000. I don't know that for sure. If you work for KelTec or know a little bit about material chemistry, perhaps you can tell me whether or not this is the same polymer or not. But it is pretty hard. You can hear it. All right, so you pull up your recoil spring by pushing up on your charging handle there, and this buffer fits around the spring perfectly, and then that goes into your tube. All right, and then you just sort of reverse the process. You just put your stock back on over the tube, put the buffer in, make sure it's facing the right direction, and then you just take your pin, push it through, Bob's your uncle, you're done. Now just check function. All right, we're ready to rock and roll. So let's go take it to the range and see how well it actually performs. It's a gorgeous day at the Santa Clara Field Sports Range, which has been closed for most of the year due to COVID and wildfires. I started with a 50-round function and reliability test with Winchester White Box at 100 yards. With the buffer installed, I experienced not a single failure to function, no failure to cycle in the 50 rounds I sent downrange. Satisfied it functioned flawlessly, I took out the buffer and tested it out again to see if I could notice any difference in the felt recoil. Without the buffer, the difference was subtle, but noticeably sharper. You could almost feel the metal of the bolt tapping the plastic buffer in the stock through your shoulder. But lest you think my opinion might be biased, I took out the recoil buffer and asked one of the range safety officers to try out the rifle. I asked him to fire 5 rounds downrange, while noting the sensation of the felt recoil, and then I would reinstall the recoil buffer and then have him shoot 5 additional rounds and let me know if he noticed any difference.
You're good. Top right quadrant of your target. Top left quadrant of your target. Top right again. Right above bullseye. Alright, right next to the bullseye. Alright.
Top 5.
So for those of you who don't live in a nanny state like California, here I actually have to break the action of the Sub 2K and partially fold it in order to eject my magazine, because I installed a mag blocking device called a Patriot Mag Release. Because without such a device, California lawmakers claim that the Sub 2000 is an assault weapon instead of the backpacking rifle that it is. I know, it sucks to be a gun owner in California. So here I've removed the stock and am installing the Missouri Tactical Recoil Buffer for the second half of this comparison test.
Alright. It's on safe. Yep. You can go for another target if you want, or you can stay on the same one.
I'll go on the same one.
Okay. Good. That was out of range, just above the bullseye. Right next to your previous shot. That one's good. Also near your previous shot. A little high, outside of the black.
Yeah, because I rejected that first one.
All right. So any
For recoil, it's definitely bouncing around less. I did notice a difference after you put in the buffer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that first series of 5 shots, I noticed that it was jumping off the rest in between shots. That second one, it stayed much more stable.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So definitely worth the $10.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, the recoil in the first place it's not jarring, but it'll keep you. I feel like it'll keep your sight picture a little bit more steady.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So there you go, the Missouri Tactical Recoil Buffer, a really inexpensive, simple to install upgrade for your Sub 2000. I'd like to thank Missouri Tactical for sending this out to me to test. I'm definitely keeping this one, but if you're interested in picking up one for yourself, I'll include a link to where you can purchase it online in the video description. If you liked this video and found it helpful, please hit the like button and the notification bell, and the subscribe button if you're new to my content. Thanks for watching. You be safe out there. Moondog, out. Hey, if you like this video, please share it on social media. You know, Facebook, forums, MeWe, whatever platform you're on. And if you want to see more videos, check out moondogindustries.com.